Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is not Ross Grimsley and not a guest, so to speak, sort of a discussion today with our Orioles beat writer, Todd Karpovich. And Todd, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Stan. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just wanted to remind folks that we are brought to you on these Zooms by the Costas Inn. Everybody knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go to sit down and eat at. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game on carryout? They are the place to go for carryout, the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. Call your orders in at 410-477-1975. Hey, Todd, I had you on. I figured with Ross out of town, I'd have you on a perfect time to sort of, we're halfway, believe it or not, we're almost halfway through spring training. This kind of bastardized spring training this year. So I wanted to talk to you about the Orioles. But before we talk Orioles, I had to ask you a little bit about this Maryland, because you cover the Orioles for us, you cover lacrosse for us. This Maryland lacrosse team, are they as good as I'm hearing?
They are. They're a juggernaut. They usually do this in the regular season. They're always very, very good in the regular season. It's the late.
Aren't they exceptional now though?
They are. They blew out number 2 Virginia. I mean, they ran them off the field. That game was supposed to be a close game. And they played Penn State on Sunday, and it was a close game till Maryland scored 13 straight goals. You know, so they're loaded. Now the thing is, they gotta prove it in May. They gotta take on that title, because they always Final Four in national championship game. They always had the one hiccup in the least opportune time.
I hear this team is, I'll use the term hiccup proof, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, they have a lot of depth.
They do have a tremendous amount of talent. Well, we go from a team with a lot of talent to a team with not that much talent, the Baltimore Orioles. Todd, this is the 4th year of Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde working together. Year 1, 54-108. Year 2, the shortened season, 25-35. Last year, back to 162 games, 52 and 110. Do you see with the four contenders that we have in our division, Boston, the Yankees, Tampa, and Toronto, do you see any way the Orioles can improve that win total this year?
This year, I think they will. I think they're better. I think you're going to see this is a year the Orioles have to take a step forward. Okay, we can't have 110, 112, 108 yard lost season. We got to see something. I'm not saying they got to be 500, but they've got to be competitive. And they have the young guys. They have the guys coming up now. It's going to create some excitement at Camden Yards. Now the AL East is loaded. I mean, this division is probably, probably the best in baseball. I mean, what the Yankees did in the offseason, the Rays are always good. The Orioles should be doing what the Rays do, and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays are probably Blues might have the best team with the young at bats. So it's gonna be tough, with the schedule. But at the same time, this is a year the Orioles have to take the next step. And of course, everybody's anticipating Adley Rushman. This is the year, and now he's got a little injury. It's going to kind of keep him out for a while, but we'll see him this year.
Yeah, there's no question we'll see him this year. But when you say, and I know you're not going out and saying they're going to win, they're even going to be close to 500, but even a 10-win difference would be really heading in the right direction. But how are they going to do that with a pitching staff right now that really looks like it's almost a carbon copy of last year? I mean, I guess it looks like Kyle Bradish, picked up in the Dylan Bundy trade, is really going to get a look. And it looks like they're moving Tyler Wells from, we thought when spring training opened, he was going to be the closer candidate. It looks like they're moving him to the rotation. And I noticed DL Hall pitched a shutout inning in relief today. He could be a huge sort of chess piece, maybe not a starter, maybe not a closer, but they've got to figure out how to get some innings out of quality pitchers.
Yeah, I think Bruce Zimmerman, I think is got a chance for that role. Zach Lothar, they got Aiken, Kramer. So they got some young guys, and I think it's going to be a fluid.
I don't mean to insult you, Zimmerman, these are guys that you would think are pitching like they really are pitching to make the ball club. Zimmerman, ERA 13.50. Alex Wells, 13.50.
Yeah.
Aiken, 15.43. And Dean Kramer, who gave up 3 runs today in 3 innings or 4 runs, he's at 7.20.
Yeah.
I mean, it's spring training. I know that.
Yeah. They're working on their mechanics, but again, you're going to see the top of the rotation pretty consistent there with Means and Lyles, and then the Tyler Wells. He's a guy who's flashed. He's also a guy who's imploded. He's got to take the next step in his development. Yeah, we're going to see a fluid situation with the Orioles rotation. We'll see some guys, coming out of the bullpen and getting chances to start. It's a challenge. The Orioles, they don't, they've really been dedicated to drafting position players. They're not real deep on pitching what they drafted. So, the goal here is to develop these position players and sign the free agent pitchers. So maybe this year is not a year they're going to do that, but we'll see how Elias plugs in the pieces later on. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Right before the lockout, December 1st, about the 27th or so of November, they signed this Jordan Lyles for a contract it was 1 year. I give him credit for that. 7.5, I think, or $7.2 million. And he's a serviceable major league pitcher. You and I went over the numbers last year. It's interesting. But did it shock you that after that they didn't follow up with anybody else like that would be a possible dark horse contender to help the starting staff? I mean, Zach Davies the other day signed with Arizona for $1.5 million and 2.3 in incentives, but he pitched 148 innings last year with the Cubs.
Yeah, Davies, that was a head scratcher for me. I don't understand why they didn't bring him in, because they really need to bring in another veteran arm. Even a stopgap guy, it's sort of hold down that third, fourth spot in the rotation. Because now there's a lot of question marks after Means and Lyles. And Means has been injured a couple times, So what's his durability throughout the entire season? Yeah, this will be something to watch. The Orioles, they're going to have to. Their offense got to carry the team a little bit, I think.
Well, we're going to talk about the offense in a minute. Don't worry about the dog. Everybody that does. Shoot it. Don't you have a gun?
He never barks.
Nah, that's all right. Don't worry about it. And I'm kidding about that. I got a dog that does the same thing. But we'll talk about the offense in just a second. But the other thing that happens, Todd, is when you're getting so few innings from your starters, is that the bullpen gets really worn out. It looks like a good bullpen for 2 weeks, and then it's overused, and then for 2 weeks it's catch as catch can.
That's been the MO of the Orioles. That bullpen's been pretty lights out for stretches, and then they completely fall apart because they're taxed. And Brandon Hyde really has no choice what he can do. He's limited who he can bring in. Guys, he's not a real situational guy. He'll bring in whoever's the freshest arm, but it always doesn't work out. That's really been a hindrance for the Orioles over the past couple of seasons, because the starters can't go into the 6th inning. And that's a huge issue.
Now they do get a little assistance, like every team in baseball. They're going to start the season, I think, with as many as 28 people until early May. I think maybe May 15th or something like that. They'll be able to carry 14 pitchers, and I'm sure they'll juggle between Tidewater and Baltimore to keep fresher arms coming up. Rutschman's injury is like a flexor, a tricep strain or something like that. I think it is. Okay. So he's probably going to be down 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and now he'll probably start down at Tidewater. And you hope within 3 or 4 weeks he's put up numbers there, because I really do think, had this been a regular off season and a regular spring training, I think they weren't going to roster manipulate him or service time manipulate him. I think they were prepared to bring him up to start the season.
I think so too. He's going to electrify he's going to put fans in the seats. And that's what the Orioles need. They need some excitement. They need a buzz. You know what I mean? He's the guy that's going to give them a buzz. And but they're not taking any chances with him, though. That's an injury you don't want to mess with. They don't want that nagging him the entire year. So they're going to wait till he's 100% healthy. He'll get some at bats in Norfolk. We'll put some fans in the seats there, and he's going to come up, and we're going to see what he can do. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do because he's a generational player.
One of the things, and we're working on this, I'll just give the audience a heads up. Our cover story for April is going to be on Adley Rutschman, but it's not going to be about his offense. It's going to be how the Orioles, by picking and developing Rutschman, have a guy who has a passion for the position and can almost Rick Dempsify the position and make it again where he takes it upon himself like a hockey goalie, not to let balls get past him. I mean, Pedro Severino, God bless him, he was a nice enough kid, but Chance Sisco, I mean, I want to see a real catcher like a Dempsey or a Chris Hoyles a little bit.
And it's interesting you bring that up because every stop of the way with Rutschman, the pitchers say they love working with him. They love the way he calls a game. They love the way he positions himself on the plate. They love the way he sort of protects them. So would that make a difference with the pitching staff when he gets up? It could. Negligible, obviously they got to pitch, but you got a catcher back there you can trust, call a game, and balls are going to get by him. You can throw out guys trying to run. It can help the mentality of a pitcher.
It's debilitating when a pitcher's best pitch might be a slider that bites a lot or a curveball that bites in the ground, and the catcher's continually giving up free bases.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And that's how it's been with the Orioles too. They haven't gotten a lot of production from their catchers the last couple of years. They've had some real issues, and Chance Sisco was a big disappointment.
Very big disappointment. I never thought he was going to be a Rick Dempsey as a catcher or a Rutschman type, but I thought he'd be okay as a catcher. But I thought at least he'd be a guy that you almost wanted to use as a designated hitter if he couldn't catch, because his hit tool looked like all through the minors it was going to play to make him a solid professional hitter. And then he got up to the big leagues and it just got worse and worse.
He wasn't a worker. He was out of shape. He wasn't. Yeah. He didn't put his time in. He's not a hard worker, and that's not what the Orioles need. They need guys who want to come in, perfect their craft, and play hard, and do the technical stuff right, because their margin of error is very, very slim.
That position too, the catching, that requires a people person who's going to go out and both cajole his pitcher, his defense, and he's gonna try and be a leader on the field, literally. When I went to see him play at Bowie last year, Rutschman, happened to be a night where Grayson Rodriguez was pitching, so I got to see the two biggest stars in the organization. Boy, every inning, when the inning ended on defense, Rutschman was right out talking to Grayson Rodriguez and talking to him, animated, talking to him about what he did good that inning, and it was really something to see.
Yeah, we'll see what Chirinos does too. Maybe he's a guy. He's a stopgap. He could be a good number two. I think he's a guy a little more dependable than what they've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Now, one of the other things I thought we'd see them do is go out. They've done it the last 2 years. They signed Jose Iglesias in 2000 for the 20 season, and then he played in the 19 season, right?
Yeah.
Did Iglesias play in 19? Yes, he played in 19, and Freddie
Galvis.
What's his name?
Galvis
played last year. It's interesting. They didn't go out and acquire a shortstop this year. There was a guy, Adrienza, who went to the Nationals he's going to play part-time there. He would have been a great stopgap shortstop until Jordan Westberg or Gunnar Henderson is ready. But second base, they signed Odor, Rougned Odor, who's really, since shifting came into being, his game went way downhill. So your thoughts on how the infield looks other than first base?
Well, I think you're going to see Urias at shortstop. Odor can play some third. He's played some third. He struggled there, but he can play there. But I think you'll see him at second and Quinones at third. I think that's the way you got penciled in. Mateo Owings can also be guys who could crack that roster. It's I think defensively they'll be pretty good. We'll see what they do offensively, but I think that's what they're going to see opening day as far as the starting lineup.
All right. Now you were around this team last year on pretty close to an everyday basis, Todd. You're probably out there 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Mancini, did you actually sort of see him tangibly start to fade after the All-Star break? Could you tell that he was fatigued from all that was going on?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of grind for him. He
Yeah,
was coming off major cancer surgery.
no question
It
about it.
takes you're not going to get that right back after a year. I was really surprised with the arbitration deal with the Orioles with him. But yeah, I think Trey did wear down a little bit. I think he'll be better this year. We'll see if he's a trade candidate. The Orioles ship him off to a contender. We'll see. But yeah, I think Trey's great for the clubhouse. He's the face of the team, really. Maybe Cedric Mullins to some degree. But
he's handled his situation both with the club and with the cancer. He's handled it like a champ. But last year he started off until July 1st or 2nd. He was Trey Mancini. And then all of a sudden, the second half of the season, he hit about 3 home runs and drove in about 15 or 18 runs. Very Trey-like numbers.
Yeah,
one of the other stories this year, and I've told this story so many times, Todd, was 1985 when the Orioles brought Earl Weaver back to manage the second half of that year. The 2 guys that really were breakout candidates for the Orioles were Mike Young, an outfielder, switch-hitting outfielder, who suddenly was a monster, and Floyd Rayford, who took over at third base, and he hit like .315 for the season.
Yeah.
And everybody penciled them in '86. Well, they've got Murray, they've got Ripken, they've got Young, they got Rayford. And early May, I had been on the radio kind of knocking Eddie Murray because he was off to an uncharacteristically slow start. And Weaver comes up to me one day and he says, "I'm listening to your show." And he says, "Do you really think I care what Ripken and Murray are hitting right now?" He goes, "They've done it before. They've done it year in and year out. At the end of the year, their numbers will be there. Here's the 2 guys you got to worry about." And he points to Mike Young and Floyd Rayford. Yeah. And they didn't do anything. And of course, the season was a total disaster. Yeah. Earl finished it and limped out of town. But my point is, Cedric Mullins had that kind of breakout season last year. Do you think he keeps, and is he 80% of what he did last year? Or is there a chance for a severe regression on?
Well, he's going to see. Yeah, he's going to see pitchers really make adjustments to him. So it's going to be up to him to see how he adjusts back. He's a good player. Once he starts, he stopped that switch hitting. He stayed with his strengths. He's a guy who doesn't try to do too much. He takes the baseball and goes with it. He's very good defensively. So he's got speed. He's got
speed. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a guy. If he can get on base, he's going to do some damage. So we'll see what adjustments he makes because the pitchers are still going to make adjustments to him.
Yeah, I think there's no question that they sort of, I won't say they consciously went easy on him, but he was a guy at least the first half. There was a letdown. I got Mullins up. He can't hit.
Yeah,
and he proved them all wrong last year. But that's the key in baseball, is making the adjustments when the other side makes the adjustments.
Yeah, because they're always doing it.
One player that looks like has adjusted his game all along is Ryan Mountcastle. Yeah. He looks like he's got a real chance to be a star and probably move into that face of franchise role maybe more and more this year.
He's going to be the first baseman. He's for power. He's gotten better defensively. He's a guy who works hard. He's a guy you see in the cage before the rest of the team gets out there. He's a guy you see taking infield practice, before the game. He's a guy that works hard at his craft and it's starting to show. He's a guy you get excited about. He's a guy, he's a 30-plus homer guy, 100 RBIs. He's a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, he is. Now, the last 2 guys out in the outfield is Anthony Santander. I'm frankly a little surprised he's back on the team this year with he's going to get over $3 million this year. You can't let every decent player you have just go walk away. But I was a little surprised they do have him back. He's just hard to figure out what's really there. There's injury problems. And then even when he's playing well, Todd, the numbers look like they're there. There's like this on base percentage is under 300. So,
he's a lot like DJ Stewart,
Yeah.
they're two guys who they're so inconsistent, and you never really get one night they're lights out, next night they're making bonehead plays in the outfield. What they're doing. I was surprised that Santana was back, but you got Kyle Stowers knocking on the door. That kid can play. That kid can hit. So we'll see some fluid action in the outfield too this season. Believe me.
All right. One last outfielder is the left fielder. It looks like he's going to be a starting left fielder and will spell Mullins in center on occasion. Would be Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
He was a kiss of death for me. I had him on my fantasy baseball team last year, and I traded him just before he got red hot and hit like 13 homers from like about July 15th or 18th till the end of the year. He hit 13, 14 home runs. He looks like a solid major league player.
He does. He's got some hard luck with injuries, though.
Yeah.
He's got some really, really bad luck. Last year was the knee. It sort of buckled on him, and, the hamstring bothers him a little bit. But when he's in a lineup, he gets some power.
He's like the old B.B. King song. If it weren't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all.
That's exactly right. But he's in that lineup. He makes things happen. He can hit. He's exciting. He can run. He's a great compliment to Cedric Mullins. These two guys are friends. They like each other. They help each other out. Yeah. So if these guys can stay healthy, again, I think the Orioles they could take a next step here in their development. Now, listen, they ain't going to be.
Well, if Rutschman, Mancini, Mountcastle, Mullins, and Hayes are all playing well from let's say May 15th on until at least they probably trade Mancini. Yeah, I'd say they got a chance to make a step forward, because I think when Rutschman comes here, he will like a jockey on a good horse. If those pitchers have something, he will pull it out of them, I think.
Yeah, and you put him in that lineup now with that lineup, dude. Now you got that changes the whole strategy for opposing teams and how they're going to pitch the Orioles, because you got Rutschman coming up probably batting, third, fourth, or fifth, wherever they put him.
Hey, I got two more questions for you. I'll jump to the last question first, because I want to end talking about Brandon Hyde. Yeah. But you and the late Jeff Seidel, who was a good friend of yours, you wrote a book about 5 years ago on Buck Showalter.
Yes.
So you covered Buck very well and closely. You got to see him up close. I think we're all happy for him that he got another shot at managing a team. That's an interesting team he ended up with. After managing the Orioles, where Chris Tillman and Wei and Chen were the best pitchers, he's got Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. He really landed in the greatest spot he could possibly land.
It's funny he landed in New York, because he wasn't a big fan of New York when he was in Baltimore.
I think Buck is so smart. He was a big fan of New York when he worked in New York, but he knew that he understood Baltimore and how Baltimoreans hate New York. So suddenly he hated New York. I don't think he hates New York so much,
It'll be funny how he handles that media, because the Mets got a huge contingent of beat writers. They have as many as the Yankees.
Did you see the story that came out the other night? You remember how when he had his post-game press conference,
he's awesome.
Sit there for a minute before they were going on camera. So the other night he started talking about this drink called a voodoo, I forget what it was called, a voodoo shot or something like that. And he goes, and they got 4 straws for you to split it with people. He goes, and I'm like looking around like, do I want you? No, I don't want you sucking in my drink. And it probably was exploded on Twitter.
Oh, it's hilarious. Yeah.
But he's got an interesting team to manage. He really landed a great spot.
And that's an interesting division. With the Phillies and Nats, the Braves, that's going to be a competitive division this year.
Yeah. He'll be down in Washington plenty. I'll tell you that.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. I wanted to end this with a guy I think we've all grown to really like, and that's the manager of the baseball team, Brandon Hyde. Is is there any way you see, and this is not me judging that he should be fired after this year, but when you have a guy that's lost 100 games 2 years out of three, and the third year he probably would have lost 100 games, but it was the pandemic. They only played 60 games. Um, what does he have to do to end up getting an extension from the Baltimore Orioles rather than being viewed by the public as, well, it's Hyde's fault somehow,
Yeah, he has to make sure these guys keep playing well, playing hard.
playing smart.
Playing smart. I tell you what, you want to see Brandon Hyde get mad. Throw to a wrong base or,
Yeah.
or get picked off. I mean, he's a pretty fair manager, but he gets mad on the mental errors and the boneheaded mistakes because he knows that slim margin of error the Orioles have. Yeah, I tell you, I really like Brandon.
I do too.
He gives us a lot of off the record stuff after the cameras go off, where
Yep.
he's brutally honest about
Yep.
what's going on.
Yep.
And it's you can't use it in your stories, but it's great background. I mean, as far as what's going on with the team. So
Yep.
yeah, I really wish Brandon has really good success this year, and he gets a chance to manage his team when they get the horses to play for him.
I agree with you. I've written it before that he shouldn't be viewed as part of the problem. But you start to understand when you're going through this level of a rebuild why it's almost hard to have the public face be a guy that's lost so much that somehow it doesn't get attributed to him. And again, I would love it if they would come out right now and say, hey, we realize we haven't given Brandon all the horses he needs. We're going to extend him for 3 more years. I'd be tickled to death, but I don't think they are. And I think what begins to happen is if they lose 100 games this year, the noose gets a little tighter around Mike, and they got to flex what they do, and that's do something. Don't just do nothing. Do something, stupid.
And Mike Elias has a plan, and he's not afraid to make decisions. He's a smart guy, and he's going to do what's best for the franchise. He stuck to his guns so far, so we'll see. We should ride this thing out and see where it goes.
All right. Todd, many thanks for joining us tonight and giving us your insights into the Baltimore Orioles. You do a terrific job covering the team for us and with all the work you do for PressBox. I know you got a lot of bags out there that you're stuffing with a little money here, little money there. You're hardest working. You're like the Tom Davis of the written word. And I say that as a compliment because you are a hard worker, Todd.
Thanks, Stan. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks again. Want to remind everybody that we are brought to you tonight. We have been brought to you tonight by the Costas Inn. Everybody knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go eat and sit down and eat, but they've upped their game. They're now one of the best places in town for takeout of your steamed crabs, your crab cakes, your crab soup, steaks, chicken dishes, salads. It's all there at the Costas Inn. Call them to make to order your food at 410-477-1975. They're located 4100 North Point Boulevard. You won't regret it. Again, for Todd Karpovich, I'm Stan the Fan. Next Monday, Ross Grimsley and I will be back with a very special guest. It looks like we are going to connect with Jim Poole, the ex-Orioles relief pitcher who's been diagnosed in the last year with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. We're looking forward to that chat next Monday. Gary Stein and I, this Thursday night at 7 o'clock, will have David Bascombe on, the head coach of the Baltimore Blast, who's got a book coming out himself. Todd didn't write it. It's the only book in town he hasn't written it. It's called Red Card. We're looking forward to talking to him about that. For Todd Karpovich, I'm Stan the Fan. Over and out. We'll see you Thursday night.